What if I told you that some of the most beautiful indoor plants in the world do not need a bag of potting mix, a fancy ceramic planter, or a complicated feeding schedule to thrive? What if I told you that some of them can live in nothing more than clean water, a glass jar, and a bright windowsill, while everyone else is still wasting money on dusty soil, fungus gnats, and overhyped plant care products? And stay with me, because number 10 on this list has leaves that look like living arrowheads and grows with a quiet elegance that feels almost too easy to be real. And number 20, the final plant I saved for the end, is not just a kitchen herb. It is one of the most fragrant, useful, and surprisingly resilient water growers you can keep in your home. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because every week we uncover the forgotten wisdom hidden in plants, foods, and natural living, the kind of knowledge modern convenience culture has trained people to ignore. Now let us get into it. Here are the 20 indoor plants that thrive in only water, in the exact order you gave me, and by the end of this journey you may never look at a jar of water the same way again. Number 1 is Monstera, the jungle architect. There is something almost mythical about Monstera. Its split leaves look like they belong in an ancient rainforest temple, the kind of place where healers and explorers once searched for hidden remedies and sacred botanical treasures. Native peoples in Central and South America knew these tropical climbers as part of the living architecture of the forest, plants that rose toward light with patience and force, always adapting, always reaching. In the modern world, Monstera became a design icon. But what most people still do not realize is that it can root and grow in water with remarkable grace. When you place a healthy cutting in a clear jar, roots emerge from the node like pale cords of life, slowly transforming a decorative leaf into a self-sustaining water plant. Modern plant science helps explain why. Monstera has strong, adventitious rooting potential, meaning its nodes naturally produce roots when exposed to moisture. Those roots absorb dissolved nutrients directly from water, and the plant continues photosynthesis through its broad, chlorophyll-rich leaves. Society overlooked this because we were taught to think every houseplant needs a bagged substrate, as if life itself comes from a plastic sack at the garden centre. But Monstera reminds us that tropical plants evolved long before potting soil became a retail product. Number 2 is spider plant, the airborne survivor. Spider plants have been quietly proving mainstream plant advice wrong for decades. Long before modern apartment dwellers hung them in macrame baskets, these tough plants were already earning a reputation as survivors. Their arching leaves and dangling babies make them look playful, but underneath that friendly appearance is a plant with serious biological intelligence. Traditional growers loved them because they multiplied effortlessly. In a way, spider plant behaves like nature, refusing to waste energy. It sends out offsets, little plantlets already prepared for the next stage of life. Place one of those babies in water and it quickly develops roots, drawing moisture and minerals with almost no resistance. That happens because spider plant tissue is highly responsive at the crown and nodes, and its root system forms rapidly in wet environments. The plant also stores energy efficiently, which lets it adapt to changing conditions better than many fussier species. Why did society overlook this? Because spider plant became too common. Anything common gets dismissed. We assume the rare and expensive plant must be more valuable. But the truth is, modern consumer culture is not interested in easy abundance. It profits from difficulty. Spider plant is too generous, too simple, too willing to grow for free. Number 3 is purple heart, the violet rebel. Purple heart does not merely grow, it performs. Its trailing stems and vivid purple foliage make it look like something bred in a secret greenhouse for drama alone. But this plant has much deeper roots in traditional growing culture. Native to parts of Mexico, purple heart has long thrived in heat, humidity, and rough conditions that would humble more delicate ornamentals. In folk use, related trade scantia species were sometimes valued for their soothing botanical compounds and their role in living gardens where beauty and function were never separated the way modern living has separated them. In water, purple heart roots with astonishing speed. The stems contain nodes primed for propagation, and once submerged, they begin producing new roots almost as if they had been waiting for permission. Its purple pigment comes from anthocyanins, the same class of protective compounds that give many fruits and vegetables their deep red, blue, and purple hues. These compounds help protect plant tissues from stress, including light damage. So the plant is not just beautiful, it is chemically equipped for resilience. People forgot how easy Purple Heart is because we were trained to buy finished plants instead of learning to multiply them. But Purple Heart is one of those old-school plants that exposes the illusion. You never needed more products. You needed one cutting and a little patience. Number 4 is Chinese evergreen, the silent purifier. Chinese evergreen has been treasured across Asia for generations, not only for its beauty but for what it symbolized: endurance, fortune, and calm domestic prosperity. It is a plant that seems to understand the rhythm of indoor life. Low light does not frighten it. Dry air does not destroy it overnight. And when grown in water, it can become one of the most elegant, low-maintenance plants in the entire house. Scientifically, Chinese evergreen is adaptable because of its efficient foliage and moderate growth habit. Its leaves store and regulate moisture well, while its stems can produce roots from cut nodes when given consistent hydration. Like many tropical aroids, it is naturally capable of adjusting from substrate growth to hydrostyle conditions if transitioned carefully. The reason modern society overlooks this is obvious once you see it. Chinese evergreen is not trendy enough. It does not shout for attention on social media the way some rare collector plant does, but in a world obsessed with novelty, quiet reliability is revolutionary. This plant does not care about trends, it simply grows. Number 5 is Dieffenbachia, the ancient sentinel. Dieffenbachia, often called dumb cane, carries one of those names modern culture never handled very gracefully. But behind the awkward label is a magnificent tropical plant with thick stems and broad patterned leaves that look almost painted by hand. In the old tropical gardens of the Americas, plants like this were admired for their commanding presence, their ability to turn a humid shaded corner into something lush and alive. Dieffenbachia can root in water from healthy cane cuttings or top cuttings, and once the roots begin to form, the transformation is dramatic. Its stems store water and energy, which gives it a buffer many delicate plants do not have. The internal tissues around the nodes are especially responsive to moisture, making it easier for new roots to emerge. Modern plant physiology would point to its strong regenerative ability and carbohydrate reserves, which help support root initiation. Society largely forgot this because Dieffenbachia got reduced to a warning label. Yes, it contains calcium oxalate crystals and should be handled with care around pets and children. But modern culture has a way of turning caution into fear and fear into avoidance. Instead of understanding plants, people abandon them. Dieffenbachia still grows beautifully in water when respected. Number 6 is Swiss cheese vine, the climbing minimalist. Swiss cheese vine has all the tropical charm of its larger Monstera cousins, but in a more compact, agile form. It looks like a plant that was designed for indoor life, with perforated leaves that catch attention without overwhelming a room. In its native habitat, this vine climbs through humid understories, using aerial roots and flexible stems to move toward light. That makes it unusually well suited to water propagation and long-term water growing. Give a cutting a node and a jar, and it begins the ancient ritual of regeneration. What modern science tells us is that vining aroids like this have built-in survival strategies. Their nodes are biological opportunity zones, capable of producing roots, shoots, and new growth when conditions allow. Water gives them exactly the signal they are waiting for. Why did people overlook this? Because somewhere along the line, plant care turned into performance. Everyone wanted the biggest leaf, the rarest cultivar, the most expensive import. Swiss cheese vine slipped under the radar because it was too practical, too graceful, too ready to thrive without drama. Number 7 is Pothos, the immortal vine. If there were ever a plant that made the houseplant industry look a little ridiculous, it would be Pothos. This is the plant that seems almost impossible to kill. The plant passed from friend to friend, office to office, kitchen to kitchen, surviving neglect that would finish lesser species in a week. Ancient people may not have called it by the same name, but vining tropical plants like Pothos have always symbolized persistence and renewal. And in water, Pothos becomes almost legendary. Its nodes erupt with roots quickly, often within days, and once established, it can live for a very long time in a simple container with occasional nutrient support and fresh water. Biologically, Pothos excels because it has strong vegetative propagation traits and efficient leaves that continue producing energy even in moderate indoor light. It is a master of adaptation, and still society treats it like beginner filler, as if ease somehow makes it less extraordinary. That is the sickness of the modern mindset. Anything that works too well gets ignored because there is no profit in simplicity. Pothos is proof that abundance does not have to be complicated. Number 8 is Coleus, the painted healer. Coleus is often remembered for its outrageous leaf colours, bright pinks, deep burgundies, electric greens, patterns that look almost ceremonial. In older garden traditions, Coleus was beloved because it brought colour to difficult spaces. It was never just background decoration. It was living art. And while modern gardeners usually think of it as a soil plant for beds and containers, it roots in water with surprising speed and elegance. The stems respond quickly to hydration. New roots form at the nodes, and soon those impossible leaves are floating above a clean vase like a botanical firework. Some traditional medicinal systems also valued related species in the mint family for aromatic or therapeutic uses, and that heritage reminds us that ornamental beauty and plant intelligence often go hand in hand. Coleus contains pigments such as anthocyanins and other phenolic compounds that help defend plant tissues. That chemical richness partly explains its vibrant colours and stress response. Why was it forgotten as a water plant? Because modern gardening divided the world into categories. Edible over here, decorative over there, indoor here, outdoor there. Coleus ignores those boundaries. Number 9 is Dracaena, the spear of endurance. Dracaena has the presence of something ancient. Upright, architectural, almost ceremonial, it looks like a plant that belonged in the corners of old temples or royal halls. In traditional symbolism, plants with sword-like leaves were often associated with strength, protection, and longevity. Dracaena fits that energy perfectly. Many varieties can be rooted and maintained in water, especially top cuttings and cane sections. Once established, the roots descend into the container like pale threads, and the plant holds its upright form with calm authority. Scientifically, Dracaena has sturdy stem tissue and relatively modest water demands compared with thirstier tropicals. That makes it more forgiving in water culture if the container is kept clean and the light is right. It also performs photosynthesis efficiently through narrow leaves that do not lose moisture as recklessly as broader, softer species. Modern society overlooked Dracaena in water because it got marketed as office decor, and once a plant becomes office decor, people stop seeing the life inside it. But Dracaena is not corporate wallpaper. It is one of the oldest feeling, most stoic companions you can grow. Number 10 is arrowhead plant, also known as Syngonium, the shapeshifter. This plant feels like a prophecy in leaf form. The young leaves are shaped like arrows, pointed and purposeful, but as the plant matures, the foliage begins to change, almost as if it is rewriting its own identity in front of you. Native to tropical rainforests of Central and South America, Syngonium learned long ago how to adapt, climb, and survive in shifting light. It is no surprise that it transitions beautifully to water. Give it a cutting with a healthy node, and it responds quickly, sending roots into the jar and fresh growth upward. The species is highly responsive because its nodes are built for mobility and regeneration. Auxin-driven root development, flexible stem tissue, and the natural behavior of a climbing aroid all work in its favor. The reason people forget this is the same reason they forget so much ancient plant wisdom. They assume convenience means buying new things, when real convenience often means understanding the things you already have. Number 11 is Begonia, the velvet alchemist. Begonias have been admired for centuries for their dramatic leaves and delicate flowers, but they were also loved because they could transform dim interiors and courtyard gardens into places of mystery. Some look metallic, some look velvety. Some look as though the leaf veins were brushed with silver under moonlight. Many begonias can root in water from stem cuttings, and once the roots establish, they become an elegant reminder that softness is not the same as weakness. The plant contains a range of pigments and structural adaptations that make its foliage highly efficient at capturing light, even indoors. In the right conditions, the stem tissues respond readily to moisture and begin producing roots. People overlook begonias in water because they assume something so refined must be fragile. But that is modern arrogance again. We confuse aesthetic delicacy with biological incompetence. Begonia is far wiser than that. Number 12 is lucky bamboo, the fortune reed. Few plants carry as much symbolism indoors as lucky bamboo. In traditional feng shui, it represents prosperity, harmony, and steady upward energy. It has been gifted for new homes, businesses, and fresh beginnings because it conveys a message that life can grow even in constrained spaces. And that symbolism is not accidental, because lucky bamboo is one of the most famous water-grown indoor plants in the world. Technically, it is not true bamboo at all, but a dracaena, which explains its resilience. The canes can sit in water with pebbles for support, and with enough light and occasional feeding, they continue to push out fresh green growth. Its tissues are efficient at storing energy, and its root zone can adapt to standing water more easily than many people realize. Modern society did not forget lucky bamboo exactly, but it trivialized it. It became a desk gift, a checkout counter decoration, something half symbolic and half disposable. But in reality, it is one of the clearest demonstrations that a plant does not need soil to create beauty and presence. Number 13 is English ivy, the old world climber. English ivy carries centuries of symbolism on its vines. In Europe, it was associated with fidelity, endurance, and the ancient power of evergreen life. It climbed stone walls, churchyards, and forgotten ruins, reminding people that life keeps advancing even when civilizations crumble. Indoors, English ivy can root and grow in water from cuttings, especially when given bright indirect light and a clean vessel. Its stems are naturally designed to cling, climb, and produce roots along the way. That same mechanism makes water propagation effective. The waxy evergreen leaves also help conserve moisture, giving the plant a measure of toughness that soft annuals do not have. Why was this forgotten indoors? Because English ivy became too familiar outside. Once something becomes part of the background, people stop questioning what else it can do. But bring it inside, strip away the soil, and suddenly the old vine reveals a new trick. Number 14 is prayer plant, or maranta, the living ritual. Prayer plant is one of those species that makes people fall in love with plant life all over again. Its leaves move. They open with daylight and fold upward at night as if in devotion. To older cultures, any plant that moved so visibly would have felt enchanted, worthy of story and symbolism. Maranta can be propagated in water from healthy cuttings, and once rooted, it becomes a mesmerizing glass-grown specimen. The leaves are marked with intricate patterns, and the plant seems almost aware of the room around it. Modern science explains the movement through nyctinisty, a rhythmic response controlled by specialized cells reacting to light and darkness. That does not make it less magical. It makes it more impressive. Society forgot how astonishing prayer plant is because we have normalized miracles. We explain them and then stop feeling them. But put this plant in a glass jar and watch it pray at dusk, and suddenly the world feels alive again. Number 15 is silver inch plant, also known as Tradescantia zebrina, the striped wanderer. Few indoor plants root as eagerly in water as this one. With silver-striped purple leaves and trailing stems that seem made to spill from shelves and windows, it looks like movement itself. Related species have a long history in household growing because they are forgiving, adaptable, and almost impossible to stop once they begin. In water, Tradescantia zebrina responds immediately. Nodes swell, roots descend, and new shoots appear in a rhythm that feels almost impatient. The plant is rich in pigments, including anthocyanins, which contribute to its dramatic coloration and help protect tissues from environmental stress. Its success in water comes from the same traits that make it such a survivor in general: flexible stems, strong regenerative ability, and a natural tendency to root wherever opportunity appears. Why did people overlook it? Because it grows too easily. The market rewards struggle, but wisdom recognizes a gift when it sees one. Number 16 is philodendron, the heart of the rainforest. Philodendron has one of the most fitting names in the plant world. It means lover of trees, and once you understand its native life as a climber in tropical forests, everything about it makes sense. These plants were built to adapt, to cling, to root, to reach. Indoors, many philodendron varieties thrive in water from cuttings for long periods, and they often do so with a calm steadiness that surprises people. Their nodes produce roots readily, their leaves remain lush in bright indirect light, and their overall structure lends itself beautifully to water culture. The chemistry behind that success is not mysterious. It is adaptive design. Flexible vascular systems, responsive nodes, and efficient tropical foliage all combine to make philodendron one of the great water growers. Society forgot the simplicity of this because it became obsessed with rare forms and collector status. But the ordinary green philodendron, the one your grandmother may have grown without fanfare, still has more practical genius than half the trendiest plants on the internet. Number 17 is sweet potato vine, the edible trickster. This one surprises people, and that is exactly why it belongs near the end of the list. Sweet potato vine is not just ornamental, it comes from a plant with one of the great survival stories in human agriculture. For generations, sweet potatoes fed families across continents, prized for their energy-rich roots and vigorous growth. But the vine itself is also beautiful, and indoors it can grow astonishingly well in water. Suspend a sweet potato over a jar or place vine cuttings in water, and soon roots and shoots begin to emerge with almost theatrical enthusiasm. The biology is powerful. Sweet potatoes are storage organs packed with carbohydrates, which means the plant has energy reserves ready to fuel new growth. The vine tissues also root readily, turning water into a launch pad. Why did society overlook this? Because industrial food culture taught people to separate food from beauty. A sweet potato belongs in the pantry, they think, not in a vase becoming a living sculpture. But nature never accepted those categories. Number 18 is peace lily, the white standard. Peace lily has earned a reputation as one of the most graceful indoor plants on earth, and for good reason. Its dark leaves and white blooms create a contrast that feels almost ceremonial, as if the plant were carrying a small flag of stillness through the chaos of modern life. While peace lily is usually grown in soil, divisions and rooted sections can adapt to water if transitioned carefully, and once established they become stunning hydro-style plants. The roots appreciate consistent moisture, and the plant's glossy leaves continue to perform strongly indoors with moderate light. It has long been associated with tranquility and renewal, which is fitting because it seems to restore peace to whatever room it enters. Society overlooked it in water because most people were handed a simplified rulebook. This plant goes in this medium, that plant goes in that pot. Do not question it. But plants are often more flexible than the retail tag suggests. Number 19 is mint, the unstoppable healer. Mint has been treasured since ancient times. Egyptians valued aromatic herbs. Greeks and Romans wrote about mint. Traditional healers across cultures used it for digestion, freshness, and vitality. It was never just a flavor, it was a household ally. And if there is one herb that almost seems born to root in water, it is mint. A fresh cutting placed in a glass quickly sends out white roots, then new leaves, then more stems, until the whole jar becomes a fragrant green explosion. Mint contains menthol and a range of volatile oils that give it its famous cooling aroma. But beneath that fragrance is a plant engineered for spread and survival. Its stems root easily, its growth is fast, and it wastes no time establishing itself. That is why people often fear it in soil where it can take over. In water, though, that same vigor becomes an advantage. Modern society reduced mint to garnish for drinks and desserts, but our ancestors knew better. This plant is abundance in a glass. And now we arrive at number 20, basil, the king of the kitchen altar. I saved basil for the end because it represents everything this list has been trying to reveal. Beauty, usefulness, history, fragrance, resilience, and the quiet rebellion of growing something valuable in the simplest possible way. Basil was revered in ancient traditions from India to the Mediterranean. In some cultures it carried spiritual significance. In others it symbolized protection, love, or blessing. Today most people know it as a culinary herb. But when a fresh basil cutting sits in water on a sunny windowsill and begins sending out roots, you remember that this plant is alive with far more than flavor. Basil roots readily in water because its soft stems respond quickly to hydration, and its fast metabolism pushes new growth with enthusiasm. Its aromatic oils, including eugenol and linalool, give it that unmistakable scent and contribute to its value beyond decoration. Why was basil the perfect final plant? Because it exposes the lie at the center of modern convenience. We were told useful things must come prepackaged. We were told freshness belongs to supermarkets and wellness belongs to expensive trends. But a basil cutting in a jar proves otherwise. It gives scent, beauty, flavor, and life all from one simple act of propagation. So there they are, in the exact order you gave me. Monstera spider plant, purple heart, Chinese evergreen, Dieffenbachia, Swiss cheese vine, Pothos, Coleus, Dracaena, arrowhead plant, begonia, lucky bamboo, English ivy, prayer plant, silver inch plant, philodendron, sweet potato vine, peace lily, mint, and finally basil. 20 indoor plants that can thrive in only water, each one quietly dismantling the myth that indoor gardening has to be complicated, messy, or expensive. And maybe that is the real lesson here. The old world understood something we forgot. Life wants to grow, a cutting wants to root, a leaf wants to reach for light. A home wants living things inside it. But modern culture turned that simple truth into an industry, packaging nature into products and instructions until people forgot to trust the plant itself. These 20 remind us that real wisdom is often simple, ancient, and sitting right in front of us in a glass of water. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these plants are you most excited to grow in water first? Are you going with the dramatic jungle energy of Monstera, the unstoppable ease of Pothos and spider plant, or the fragrant final power of mint and basil on the kitchen windowsill? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you more of the forgotten plant wisdom, natural living insights, and high retention stories that the modern world keeps trying to bury.